Wednesday, the 30th of October, 7:45 p.m. kickoff. Newcastle host Chelsea at St James's Park in the round of 16 of the Carabao Cup. Only a few days after Chelsea hosted Newcastle at Stamford Bridge in the Premier League, where we were 2-1 victors. Now, in the Carabao Cup, it's a short space of time between the games. Do Newcastle have the squad depth that Chelsea do? I don't think so. Chelsea have such a deep squad that we can rotate so many players. And with Enzo Marasca at the helm and this rotation of players, who is going to play for Chelsea against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup? Will Cucurella play left back or right back? Will Vega get some time at left back, or will he play in them double six positions? Will KDH and Enzo Fernandez continue that double six pairing in the cup competitions? We are going to go over this in today's video, and I'm also going to highlight the Chelsea player which is the key to beating Newcastle United. So if you are new around here, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you're new, it really helps the channel, and let's get into this predicted 11. Starting off in goal, I have gone with Jorgensen. Newcastle played a very high press, and Robert Sanchez was found out time and time again with his ball distribution at the back, especially when we're building from the back. And I feel like Jorgensen is going to give Chelsea fans less of a heart attack playing out from the back, even with whoever is playing in that back four. I feel like Jorgensen was brought in because he's a ball-playing goalkeeper. We're really going to see the highlights of that against Newcastle, and then hopefully Enzo Marasca can see that Sanchez isn't consistent enough. Jorgensen's better with the ball at his feet, like he already knows, and he may even get a start in the Premier League if he can keep a clean sheet against Newcastle. Moving on to left back, I have gone with Renato Vega. This guy is solid. I love seeing him play in a Chelsea shirt. He seems to love Chelsea already. Absolute gem of a signing, let's be honest. No one expected Renato Vega to be this good. I feel like he'll play left back, and he may invert into central midfield when we have the ball, when we're in possession. I've got no qualms with that. Every time I've seen Renato Vega playing left back, he's been solid, good defensively in them wide areas, good defensively in the central areas, and naturally goes into them double six positions, and he has no issue with that. We've bought an absolute gem, and I feel like he will play. Moving on to left centre-back, I've gone with Benoit Badiashile. Now, let's hope that Badiashile can play as well as he did against Liverpool, because he was solid. He played great against Panathinaikos as well. Has Benoit Badiashile found a little bit of form? Has he found a bit of form? Because if he has, I'm all for it, as long as it may continue. Playing Premier League opposition is going to be a big ask. We know what he is like in the Premier League. Full of mistakes, can't keep composed. And again, Newcastle with their high press. Is he going to be able to be composed enough, cool enough on the ball to be able to, spray that pass about, keep his foot on the ball and not make a mistake? Let's hope so. Moving on to the right centre-back, I've gone with Tosin. Again, I really like Tosin. He was a bit off it against Liverpool, and that's to be expected. We were playing the league leaders. He had a great game against Panathinaikos. Solid. I think we all played well against Panathinaikos, if I'm being honest. I think Panathinaikos kind of rolled over after a while once we started being a bit more dominant on the ball. But I feel like Tosin is going to play against Newcastle in the Carabao Cup and kind of show his quality and how he is that kind of in between first team and second team. Even though Marasca doesn't like to call it that, we all know what it is. Yeah, I feel like Tosin is cool, calm, collected, and he's good on the ball. Great at those aerial duels. So I'm hoping that Newcastle get nothing in the air with the likes of Tosin at the back. Moving on to right back, I have chosen Marc Cucurella. Now, this is surprising me because in the last game against Newcastle, we saw Reece James at left back and Gusto at right back. And I think it worked very well. I think Reece James did a very good job at left back. I feel like Gusto obviously is a right back, and I feel like they just played very, very well. And it kind of opened my eyes in terms of how Marasca is deploying his fullbacks right now. Obviously, we know that one of them inverts during the game, and at times we see a switch of who inverts as well. So I feel like we've seen Cucurella play at right back. I always thought it was a bit strange, but because of the games so close together, and we've used Gusto and Reece James, for the Newcastle game, I feel like it's going to be Renato Vega in that left back position and Marc Cucurella playing right back. Be interesting to see how he does against Newcastle. I believe Anthony Gordon is out. If not, it could be a bit curtains for Cucurella if he doesn't naturally fit into that right back position. But I have no fears. I have no worries. I feel like Cucurella can do a job there. We've seen him play there before. So yeah, Cucurella right back. Now moving on to the double six positions, this is where it gets a bit interesting because do you go with KDH and Enzo Fernandez like we did against Panathinaikos? Do you go with Caicedo and Lavia? Do you just play one? Do you just play Caicedo to start and then pair him with Enzo? It's a very difficult decision because, again, these games are so close together. So I'm actually going to go with KDH and Enzo Fernandez because despite what I was seeing and hearing on my watch-along, people were slating KDH. I think he played incredibly well against Panathinaikos. Again, like I said, we all played well. But that midfield trio of KDH, Enzo Fernandez and João Felix worked incredibly well. I think like it was very balanced. KDH didn't play as advanced as before. He was dropping back. He was making space for Enzo and João Felix to kind of float about. And I felt like it worked very well. I feel like Newcastle won't really know what to deal with that either because it's such a different midfield to what we played in the Premier League with Lavia and Caicedo. So I'm going to go with KDH and Enzo Fernandez as them holding 6 position players. Moving on to the left wing, I am going with Mykhailo Mudryk. Now, this guy, if he can continue the form that he is on against Newcastle, he will be the Chelsea player that is the key to beating Newcastle. He is the key to beating Newcastle, and I'll tell you why. 1, he loves a goal against Newcastle. 2, his pace is electric. And when he has form and pace, when he's playing well, he's almost unbeatable. Newcastle didn't play a low block. Be interesting to see if they play a low block in the Carabao Cup. I don't think they will, as it's a cup competition, and essentially both teams have nothing to lose. You go for it, you play, you see who is the better team on the night. And you could say that Jadon Sancho could come on, could start and could play. For me, it's got to be Mykhailo Mudryk on recent form, and if they're not playing a low block, it has to be Mudryk. I feel like he is the key Chelsea player to beating Newcastle. We saw how Newcastle were down that left-hand side with Pedro Neto being fed that service. He had a field day in the Premier League. I don't think much is going to change for Newcastle in the space of a few days. I don't think they have a squad nowhere near as deep as Chelsea right now. So I don't think they're going to be shifting around too many players. I feel like it's going to be a very similar defensive setup. And again, unless they play a low block. If they play a low block, I can see Enzo Marasca playing Jadon Sancho. I think he's very effective against low blocks. But I feel like he's going to go out with Mykhailo Mudryk because they're not going to play a low block. They're going to come at us. And I feel like with Mudryk's run of form right now, the way he played against Panathinaikos, his pace, his passing that's being on point recently, I think he can really exploit Newcastle and get in and behind time and time again. Moving on to that number 10 role, I've gone with João Felix. This guy, people are screaming out that Felix should be getting more Premier League minutes. It's very difficult because Marasca kind of set up the positions and who battles for what position, and he is battling Cole Palmer for a position, which is very, very difficult to displace and almost impossible right now because he's one of the best players in the world. João Felix is a magic player. I love watching him play. Again, he was having fun against Panathinaikos. He was just floating and gliding past players. You know, the skill moves, the build-up play, the flick-ons. He is the real deal. We know this. And I feel like against Premier League opposition, he's played against Premier League opposition, the first time he was at Chelsea. You know, we're really going to see the skill levels of João Felix. And I feel like this is a big test for him. In terms of having to step up his game to prove he should be in the first team. Because when you're playing Premier League opposition, it's a completely different ball game. So I've gone with João Felix. I feel like he is going to be very imperative for the assist side. He may get on the score sheet himself. But I feel like the way him, KDH and Enzo played against Panathinaikos was very, very balanced. It opened a lot of space up for the likes of João Felix to kind of exploit those pockets in the transitions going forward. And I feel like him linking up with Mudryk again could be frightening. Moving on to the right wing, I have gone for Noni Madueke because he is a very direct winger and we like someone who is direct. Didn't have the best of games against Newcastle in the Premier League. However, with Pedro Neto playing and Madueke playing, I feel like Noni will get the nod on the right-hand side and he'll play majority of the game. And I feel like it'd be another opportunity for him to kind of be a bit more direct, get in behind as well. He's a technical player in terms of trying to beat a man and trying to get the ball in. His decision-making against Newcastle was a lot better in terms of he was just trying to deliver crosses more than taking the shot on himself. He took a few shots on himself, but they were pretty tame and kind of trickled through to the keeper. Hopefully that can change. But I feel like he will start on the right-hand side against Newcastle. I'll be surprised if it's Pedro Neto. As much as I would love Pedro Neto to play because he was frightening against Newcastle. But again, with the game such a short space between them, I feel like it'd be Noni Madueke to start and potentially Tyreek George to come on that right-hand side as we saw against Panathinaikos. potentially Neto. But again, we've also got Jadon Sancho, if he doesn't start, to be disposed as well. Like, he can be used on either side, whether it's the left or the right. So I'm going to start with Noni Madueke on the right wing. And that leaves the Chelsea number 9, and I feel like everyone knows who the Chelsea number 9 is going to be in the Carabao Cup, and that is Mr. Christopher Nkunku. Christopher Nkunku to start. This guy is on fire for Chelsea right now, scoring pretty much every game that he's playing. I'm hoping he can continue against Newcastle because, again, with the players of the likes of João Felix and Nkunku, when you're playing teams that are considered lesser teams, it's expected that you perform. Now, what has happened with Nkunku this season is, 1, he has become more clinical. 2, he's getting less chances and still converting them. I know we've got a penalty against Panathinaikos. It's great to know that we've kind of got a B-team penalty taker as well as a first-team penalty taker. And I feel like he'll start, and I feel like he'll play a very good game against Newcastle. Again, he's a very technical player. If Mudryk can get in and behind, Nkunku's movement in the box is second to none. I can see him getting on the score sheet. St James's Park is a hard place to go, but I genuinely feel like Nkunku playing up front, that front four is going to be absolutely lethal. And like I said, I don't think Newcastle are going to quite understand how to deal with it because it's going to be such a stark difference to what they faced just a couple of days ago at Stamford Bridge. So that is my predicted Chelsea 11 to face Newcastle in the round of 16 of the Carabao Cup. Do you agree with my lineup or not? Let me know in the comments your thoughts. I feel confident going into this game. I know the games are back-to-back, and sometimes that can kind of go in your favour. Sometimes that can backfire. And unfortunately for Newcastle, I think it's going to be 2 L's on the bounce against this Chelsea side because of the sheer squad depth that we have. Hopefully our form can continue with this B team. We know what it was like against Panathinaikos and what it's been like in the Conference League. If we can continue that form going into the Newcastle game, then we should be absolutely fine. I am excited to watch Chelsea, as I always am and have been this season, because we are playing so well. The variety and rotation of players and how everyone is starting to click, no matter who is paired with who, is just so nice to see. And when you look at the likes of Manchester United, who were going through a transition, at the same time we were spending loads of money and it's not really worked out, and Ten Hag's now been given the boot, it shows the stark difference in terms of recruitment, philosophies, systems, and the player profiles you need to be bringing in. And I feel like everything is slowly coming together for Chelsea this season. I genuinely feel we can go all the way in the Carabao Cup. Like I said, we fell at the last hurdle last year, unfortunately. And I feel like this could be the first trophy under the Marasca era, as long as we go out and we perform when we need to. But as always, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I love having a conversation with you guys. I will be doing a live watch along on my TikTok, and that is in the link in the description, so feel free to come and follow me there. I will start to do live streams here on YouTube once I figure out all the logistics, because I'm not that tech savvy. And if you have made it this far to the end of the video, there will be a thumbnail that appears on the screen. If you like Chelsea content, make sure you click that thumbnail because you will enjoy that video too.